Good morning. Welcome to Real Talks, Dominate Real Estate. It's October 14th, 2020, and I'm Charlie Bengel.
And I'm Eyerusalem Meaza. Grab a cup of coffee and let's make your real estate career better.
What's in the news today, Eyerusalem?
This morning headlines, a study from the National Association of Realtors is confirming many of the migration trends that had been anticipated as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Although generally done every 2 years, NAR conducted a pair of community and transportation preference surveys in 2020 to accurately register the impacts of the coronavirus. The latest iteration shows younger Americans, particularly those with children, have been most affected, although those who live in walkable communities register a higher quality of life than those who live in less walkable areas. According to the NAR study, Americans under 40, millennials and Generation Y are most likely to say their overall quality of life has been negatively impacted by the pandemic, while they also note a reduced need to reside near highways, public transit, or their place of work. Although COVID has dramatically changed people's lives, the study shows that a substantial demand for walkability persists for Americans of all ages. Among other noteworthy findings of the survey, respondents who strongly agree that there are lots of places to walk nearby show an 8% increase in quality of life. Families with children in school show an increased desire for detached homes and larger yards. In February, a majority of Americans preferred a smaller yard in a walkable community. The importance of easy access to public transit and highways dropped 8% and 5% respectively from pre-pandemic levels. And Americans older than 55 and those with higher incomes show an increased interest in walkability. In other news, Windermere chief economist Matthew Gardner discusses the potential consequences of low mortgage rates and persistently low levels of inventory. By looking at the weekly data from the time the pandemic hit, 30-year rates have hit record lows 9 times since March. 15-year rates have broken their all-time lows 11 times. Buy one adjustable rate mortgages have broken south of their all-time low 6 times. This definitely shows that the ownership housing market has been a beacon of hope as we move through the pandemic, and much of the reason for this is that rates have never been lower. We know that rates have dropped significantly over the past year, and this has allowed buying power to increase. He also mentions that for every 1 percentage point drop in rates, buyers can afford to pay a 10% more for a home, and rates on the 30-year are 0.9% below their 52-week high. Buyer demand is causing home prices to rise at a far faster pace than rates are dropping, and surging prices are starting to wipe out some of the affordability benefits produced by these record low interest rates. An example scenario provided was that a home sold in August for the U.S. median price of $310,600, and the effective mortgage rate at that time was just a hair over 3%. Including taxes and insurance, the monthly payment would be $1,047. So the buyer had to be making a salary of $59,476 to be able to qualify to buy it. Let's say the same house was sold back in February, again for the U.S. median price that month, which was $270,400. Back then, the mortgage rate was higher at 3.62%. That means that payment would have been $986 per month, and that required a salary of $56,833. Well, the income needed to buy that house back in February was almost $3,000 lower than the income needed to buy it in August, even though mortgage rates had dropped significantly. The point that Chief Economist Matthew was making is that even though rates have dropped, the income required to buy that home had to be higher because home prices were rising at a faster pace than mortgage rates were dropping. Low rates have grown demand significantly, but because there are so few homes available to buy, prices have jumped, impacting housing affordability. In related news, CoreLogic recently released its CoreLogic Home Price Index and HPI forecast for August 2020. On a national basis, home prices jumped 5.9% in August 2020 compared to August 2019. The increase was up almost 1% compared to the last month when home prices increased 5.1% year over year. Consumer home purchasing power has stayed strong due to record low mortgage rates despite continued pressures caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, for sale inventory has continued to dwindle, decreasing 17% year over year in August. This created upward pressure in home price appreciation, according to CoreLogic, as buyers compete for the limited supply of homes. CoreLogic expects home growth to slow as more new and existing homes become available for sale in 2021, and elevated unemployment saps buyer demand. The HPI forecast shows prices will start to downshift in early 2021, with annual U.S. HPI gains slowing to just 0.2% by August 2021, and many locations experiencing declining prices. Despite the rapid acceleration of national home price growth, local markets continue to vary. For instance, New York, Jersey City, White Plains Metro recorded an annual decline in home prices of 0.1%, as residents opt for more space and privacy in less densely populated areas. Meanwhile, in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia Metropolitan Division, there has been a 5.9% year-over-year change in price. Charlie, what's going on with rates?
Thanks, Eyerusalem. The 30-year fixed rate is 3%. Jumbo is 2 7/8. FHA and VA remain at 2 3/4%. These are purchase rates in the DC metro market, brought to you by PNC Mortgage. Back over to you to talk about the market.
In the last week in Hampton Roads, we saw 744 new listings hit the market, 751 properties go pending, and 640 properties sold. In the last week in the Washington metro area, within 30 miles of the White House, we saw 1,538 new listings hit the market, 1,750 go pending, and 1,059 homes sold. Back over to Charlie with our special guest.
Thanks, Eyerusalem. I'd like to welcome back to the show Coach Amy Lassen. Always good to see you, Amy. Good morning.
Good morning.
So today's topic is very exciting. It's holiday pop-by time. And I think that, the other day you and I were talking about how, and I think that I said that there's no easier time to get in touch with our clients than around the holidays.
Yeah.
And some of us probably think if you were to, poll the average American, when did the holidays begin? Oh, it's Thanksgiving. Well, for realtors, it's actually in October, because we can take advantage of Halloween and all the opportunities to do pop-bys and client events around Halloween as well. So I know the topic's pop-bys. We can probably expand that a little bit into client events, right? There are some people that are doing client events. So where do you want to start?
Gosh, organizing our database? No, we can. So there's so many parts to it. Like, we can talk about a lot of cool ideas. We can talk about price. We can talk about ease. But I think it really comes down to blocking out the time and just being committed to doing it. I've told the story before about me buying, 40 pumpkins and letting them freeze in my driveway. So
right.
I would say just commit, get some help. But I kind of wasn't kidding about the database, because you also need to map out your route. But where do you?
And who gets what? I think that's a very interesting, right? So are we talking, our A pluses, which you and I often say are about our top 10%, our raving fans, right? And everyone's like, well, how many is that? If 1,000 people, maybe it's not 100, right? It's probably less than 100. So whatever you're comfortable with. But I was walking by Whole Foods the other day, and they're not exactly known for inexpensive stuff. And they had carving pumpkins for $6, good, like medium-sized pumpkins. And I took a picture of it, and I was going to post it on Facebook, and then I never did. But, the thought was, hey, even if you're an agent and you decided to go there and grab 10 pumpkins and throw them in the trunk of your car, and then decide that evening who you're going to visit over the next 2 days, who doesn't want a pumpkin on their front porch, whether they're going to carve it or not? Yep. It's a nice fall look. So anyway, let's delve into the details. But I do wonder how many people get stuck in this analysis paralysis. And, so who is going to get it? What is it? And I got a lot of coaching clients that are going to be doing multiple pop-bys between now and the end of the year, right? They're doing the pies, they're doing the pumpkins, they're doing the holiday cards, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I want to encourage, I love what you said about, 10 pumpkins, why not? So don't overthink it. 5 pop-bys is better than none. But I also want to encourage you to not overthink it, like who deserves it. That just becomes a matter of budget. And I have friends and coworkers who do tons of pop-bys. Hundreds of people get their gifts, and it has a big impact. So I would say, depending on your bandwidth, depending on how busy you are, depending on how much support you have, don't undersell the value of a pop by either. And I have a story, and I'll try to be careful to not out anyone. Many, many years ago, I referred one of my sisters to an agent, and I was visiting her and her wife, and they were talking about how much they don't like their agent. And it's the same agent. They've used her 5 times. They've used her 5 times, and they don't like her. And they were talking about it, and I felt terrible. I'm like, guys, I didn't know this woman. I researched her. I found her. I gave you the referral fee. Like, don't do me any favor. Why do you keep her around? And they said, she gives us so much good stuff. This woman is the queen of Popeyes. You know, I was at their house and I saw this lavender above their sink, and I'm like, where did the lavender come? This is years before. Oh, it's from her, right? She dropped by with beer and pretzels. She gives us a Christmas tree every year. So don't undervalue the incredible impact of Popeyes, even on the people who aren't sure they like you. I don't know that I would do that, but it's working in this woman's case.
Right. So where to start? I think, you know, I liked your idea of taking 30 minutes or an hour and figuring out your budget, doing a little bit of brainstorming around what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think it often, you know, it really, I'd prefer that everybody start with a budget instead of working backwards. And, you know, I want to do all this and then figuring how much it's going to be. I think it's better, you know, ideally you have in your 2020 business plan how much money you want to spend on Popeyes, right? Most of the people listening or watching this don't, right? So figure out, you know, what is that between now and the end of the year? And then you can figure it out and kind of back out what you're going to do. And if you're the one doing the labor, if you don't have to hire help to deliver these items, and it's going to save you money. Lisa Saunders, who's one of our managers in the Hampton Roads market, Thanksgiving week, I think it was 2 years ago. It wasn't last year. Maybe she did it last year, but I didn't talk to her about it. But 2 years ago, her and her team and hired help and family and everything, they delivered, I think it was 200 pies Thanksgiving week.
Wow.
You know, dropped them off.
Yep.
So, you know, we've got the pop buys, the reverse pop buys, you know, you name it. But I think spending a few minutes figuring out what the budget is and then going from there makes a lot of sense. Well,
can we just talk a little bit of mindset around money? Because I think you and I are definitely not the coaches to encourage people to hemorrhage money. I think when it comes to our sphere of influence, a lot of agents suddenly get tight. You know, why would I, you know, $2,000 on a party? They're like, oh, really? And like, are you crazy? There are people spending $2,000 a month to Zillow,
right?
And getting 8 leads that aren't very closable.
Yep.
So please, and so Charlie's absolutely right. Have a sphere of influence touch budget, but let's talk about that. Let's pick easy math. Let's say you got 100 people, 100 people in your database, 100 people in your sphere, 100 people you're willing to pop by, getting all tense about money. Let's say the $6 a household is a real number, and it would end up $600 to drop off pumpkins. Think about other ways that you would spend $600 in your business.
Right.
And if you had a referral, right, what would be the referral fee on a single transaction? $600? No, probably like $3,500, depending on your average price point.
Sure.
Quit being a tightwad when it comes to marketing to your own people, but a budget will take you far. So I've done math in my class, and I'm trying to think quickly off the top of my head. You know, a couple $100 a year a household is not too much money to spend over the lifetime of how many times they could use you and refer you. So yeah, I'm not saying don't go cheap. Like if you find an inexpensive thing, that's wonderful, but don't not do it because of money, unless you don't have any, and that's a whole other thing.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna go off on a tangent, but I'll save that for another day. I was doing some thinking this morning, and anyway. Okay, so let's think of some ideas, and let's also include the client events. I think there's some people out there that are thinking client events are completely off. We're not doing that. I've got people doing pumpkin patch events.
Okay.
I had somebody do one, I think this past weekend. I don't know how it went. I'll have to check in with him tomorrow to see how it went. You know, we're aware of Lily down in Raleigh doing her Kona Ice event in August, where she got 70 people from her farm to show up.
Yep.
These are not crowded parties in an enclosed space with maskless people, right? We're not talking about a super spreader event like we've been having in Washington, D.C. lately. That is not what I'm talking about, right? So we're talking about outside events, socially distanced, wear your mask, be responsible. I feel like there's some people that hear client event, they immediately think, no way, no how, it's irresponsible. And it doesn't have to be, right? You can do it the right way and you can advertise it the right way. And I think that, and I think that it can work. So I've got somebody that is doing a drive-through trick or treat. So in her town, she doesn't think Halloween's really going to happen. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious to see what happens. Like in the South, is Halloween going to be normal because it's not, COVID's not a thing? And then like in the Northeast, is nobody going to leave their house? I'm very curious to see how it works in America. Halloween in America in 2020. What is that? Yeah. Anyway, she's doing a trick or treat drive-through where her team members are going to be kind of spaced out and lined up in a movie theater parking lot because the movie theater is not open at this time. Mm-hmm. And they're inviting their clients. She sells a lot of houses. They'll get hundreds of cars through. Mm-hmm. And they're going to put the window down, right, the back window down, and they're going to reach in and drop the candy into the kids, plastic pumpkin or pillowcase or whatever the kids got, right? So, that's an idea that's perfectly safe, and it's a way to be in touch with your people. And I think what we forget with some of these events is while it's nice to be able to have a conversation with everybody that attends, the beauty is also in the conversation around the invitation and then the follow-up conversation after the event. And even if you're doing like a drive-through thing, if I know some people are doing these reverse pie pop buys, mm-hmm. where normally they have like a little party where people come in, they pick up their pie, they chit chat. Well, in this case, they're going to text from the parking lot, I'm here. And then the agent or the team member is going to run out to the parking lot and give them their pie. Yeah. So you're not going to have the interaction that maybe you want, but you can still have the interaction before and after on the phone. Yep. So I wouldn't be one, if these are traditions that you have, I would tweak them. I wouldn't cancel them due to COVID. I think that would be making a mistake.
I love the drive-through trick-or-treat thing. I had a coaching client a couple of years ago who did a trunk or treat, and it had nothing to do with COVID. And it was this huge success. And it had to do with the launch of this new charter school. But still, COVID is a heck of an excuse to do something really fun for Halloween. I think a lot of us don't know. And Colorado is pretty tight on COVID restrictions. We're 100% masks required. It's not optional. It doesn't depend on the municipality. It's required. Yet no one said anything about Halloween, and we're all like, all right, here's your Snickers. Like we can't figure out how that's going to go. Right. So I think you were the one to raise your hand and say, I've got an idea. I'll handle Halloween for you and your kids.
I mean, I think the drive-through is a cool idea. And some of you are thinking, okay, it's the 14th. We're getting too close to Halloween. Good point. Maybe not, right? Maybe that's the drunk monkey saying you have over 2 weeks. You can act now. I mean, so getting into November, getting into Thanksgiving, the pie idea, we've done this for our agents, right? So we used to do a spring fling, which was like a reverse pot buy. The agents would come by the main office and they would pick up an orchid. We'd have cookies and music, right? It was like a social thing. And then in the fall, we would do pies on Thanksgiving week. We'd have like one day, they had to pre-order pumpkin or apple. We used a local bakery, although Costco's fine, I think. I've had people say, well, I don't have a good local bakery. Would Costco work? Right. Yes. Something is better than nothing. And they have these pies that are like the size of a freaking paella, skillet thing, right? And, for like $8 or whatever, it's crazy cheap. So,
and if you're going to do Costco, by the way, so many agents do that now. You actually need to order. Don't assume they're going to have enough for you. So
no. I think that's a good point. Yeah. So try to buy local if you can. We used to get our orchids from Trader Joe's. And we would go to Trader Joe's and we would say, okay, we're going to need, 60 orchids on this date. And they would make sure that they had them, just like you said, right? They may have them, but don't assume. just call, order ahead so you don't have that
So
problem.
sidebar, I'm with you. I was keeping my mouth shut about buy local because I have been such a pie snob in years past, and I have been shamed by agents who are just like, Costco all the way, baby. I'm like, who's going to drive across town for a $5 pie, please? And then their event is a huge success.
Right.
So that's the reason I was being quiet about that. But you know what? There's so many reasons to buy local.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Partnered with a wonderful local bakery. Think about COVID, for heaven's sakes. Let's keep our local businesses.
Especially now, I was going to say.
Partner with a wonderful local bakery and make a big bleeping deal of it, right? Really, really promote this event. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
So, yeah, Costco's doing just fine. Costco's had a really good year.
Toilet paper money.
They don't need your money as much as the bakery down the street. So you can I think you can still do a reverse pop buy, right? Again, if you don't want them coming to your office, having them text, right? You run out to their car, or you can do the traditional pop buy, and let's talk about that. So there's almost the pop buy and the drop off, right? So the pop buy traditionally has been, you make an appointment, you stop by, you say hello, right? Then there's the drop off. And I think a lot of this depends on your community, how you feel about COVID. I think, it was your idea, 6 or 7 months ago, to not stop doing these things, but drop something off and do a photo or a video. Hey, I just dropped off XYZ. I hope you guys are doing great. Enjoy XYZ. I'm out. And then off you go. So you could do the same thing with the pie. Again, I think it's very, it's funny. I coach, I don't know, 25 or 30 people in group coaching. And we talk about like door knocking and stuff. And in the same group, in the same metropolitan area of DC, oh no, my neighborhood, you can't door knock here. People are very sensitive. Other people, 30 miles away, again, same community. Oh yeah, I'm still door knocking. We're good. It totally depends on the neighborhood, the community, right? So do what's best for
the agent, though.
Oh, that too.
A lot the mindset of the agent. Anyway, keep going.
Yep. So I love the pie idea. I love the pop buy idea. Do it reverse if you want. And I think the more people you're trying to reach, the reverse pop buy makes it a lot easier, right? What Lisa did a couple years ago, delivering 200 pies in one day, it's not normal. It's great, right? But it's not what most people do. So the reverse pop buy idea works, right? And if you feel like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could do 200 pies Thanksgiving week, have them come to you, right? Have them pre-order, have them come to you, have the conversations. We used to tell our agents you could choose pumpkin or apple. I don't know if I mentioned that. We gave them a choice. And then those of you in the DC metro market, we used Mom's Apple Pies out in Leesburg. I think that they also have a location in Occoquan now. And, this is a very small bakery, right? They could absolutely use our business. So anyway, that's an idea. So why don't you
don't know what a reverse pop buy is? Those who are new to real estate or new to this concept, you're basically throwing a client event and making them come to you to pick up their pie.
Yep.
And I wouldn't even downplay it and say it's less good or if you have to, because driving to 200 people's houses is probably so arduous that you can't. So reverse pop buy is lovely, and everybody needs an excuse to get out. So
yep. No, that's good. So talk to me about some drop-off ideas. What's that look like around the holidays? And we haven't really gotten to December ideas yet either. So any more thoughts on kind of fallish ideas, I guess?
Yeah, so there's the thing that's wonderful about thinking of things that are less perishable than an actual pie would be that you could just stick it on their porch and text them a picture or text them a video and run.
Right.
So that can be, I have a client who does this smoky glasses and a bottle of wine. Now that's probably a $10 or $12 gift, but depending on the client, that's perfectly lovely.
Sure.
And provided it's not going to freeze tonight, that would be fine. So like bags of candy with super catchy slogans, and I think we've all seen them. And guys, just Google it. Google pop buy ideas, and you'll find something that you really like. What happens to me when I do, though, is I find things are a little too labor intensive, and I get really excited. Because the last time we talked about this, I found this really cool ice cream kit that was so much work. So yeah, there's lots of cool ideas if you just want to Google pop buy ideas, but like plants can be a lovely thing. You can get a $5 herb even at this time of year. Heading into closer to Christmas, sometimes you can get rosemary shaped like a tree. It's adorable. It smells lovely. Flashlights, if you could get a bunch of flashlights just before Halloween and, wish them and their kids luck, out having a wonderful time, if that's a thing.
Right.
Always go that extra mile for a cute little tag. And again, not encouraging you to overthink it. Go to Canva, just Google cute tags. You'll be able to find something, or heck, maybe you just need to write it yourself, but make a pretty tag, make it memorable. But the thoughtfulness matters more than anything else.
Agreed. I've got a client who's done wreaths from the Boys and Girls Club for years, and she does. It's 20 or 25 people get them. It's not a $5 gift, obviously, but these people, if they take a picture of the wreath on their door, they post it on Facebook. Thank you so much. Da 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 da. I mean, you can get some pretty long shelf life. Around something like that. And then if you ever stop doing it, they're probably going to call you and say, "Hey, I need my holiday wreath." And start a tradition, right?
Like I said, my sister's realtor actually pays for trees. Heaven knows those must be awfully expensive, but a wreath is not too over the top.
Right.
And to support a local organization as you do it, great double dip.
I don't want to forget about just holiday cards, right? Hallmark actually has a business department section website where they will, they help you with custom cards. They're fairly inexpensive. We used to do, when I was on a team with Pat Wallace, who has since retired, my gosh, this was 18 years ago now, probably, we would do Thanksgiving cards because we didn't want to get into do they celebrate Kwanzaa, Christmas, or Hanukkah, right? Especially the DC area. I mean, all of our large metropolitan areas are just melting pots with all sorts of different people that celebrate different things. And we just didn't want to get into the whole December holiday thing, right? So we always did Thanksgiving cards, and it's nice because nobody really gets a Thanksgiving card, right? Some people still get Christmas cards and this and that. So I think now is also the time to be thinking about Thanksgiving cards, holiday cards, Happy New Year cards. That's pretty benign as well, right? So, ideas around all of that stuff. So if you don't want to go big, then consider just doing a card.
Sure. I agree with you about the Thanksgiving cards, and it's not fear of the December holiday doing it wrong, but I get holiday cards from dentists I don't even use, like Christmas cards, right? And every single title company sends me one, and they even make their staff sign it. And it's like every time I look at that, I'm like, what a waste of time. No message. It's not personal. 8 people had to sign this darn thing. Dang it. It makes me feel bad for them. So and
it comes from every title company, agreed.
Right. So I didn't want to be that person at Christmas time, at December holiday time. So I'm a huge fan of the Thanksgiving cards, but I also wouldn't go turkey, Amy. Like, I'm going to write some gratitude or I'm not sending the card. And that's just me. But I think a pre-written message with a signature is probably not worth the paper it's printed on. But you guys are welcome to push back on me on that.
So I fall into the camp of something's probably better than nothing, especially if you're not sending them something in the mail enough. But no, I like the idea, and that's why we're talking about this early. Yeah. Right. So if you want to write the special Thanksgiving message to your best people, let's get the cards now and let's start that journey. Let's not start that the Sunday before Thanksgiving when you could be busy selling houses, and then you realize, oh gosh, here we go again. Another year goes by and I didn't get my cards done.
Yes. So I recommend, if it's possible, that you buddy up with someone in your office, even if you're just accountability buddies around it. But some agents, they do joint events, they share the burden. But even if it's not that, even if you just have a shared deadline, you're like, all right, did you get your pumpkins or did you get your cards? Okay, me too. Or, maybe you have a little Zoom call where you talk about the market and you sit there and I don't know, do something to help you move forward. Maybe this is just me being very busy and overcommitted. It's one more thing. And so having a buddy to hold me accountable to my deadlines would be helpful.
No,
Charlie,
I think that,
you want to be my accountability buddy?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. 2 words just caught my attention. What you just said, do something. right? We are having this talk on October 14th. There's
Yeah.
plenty of time for everybody that is watching and listening to do something, commit to doing something.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be the pumpkin patch this year. Maybe it's just the holiday card. It's personalized. That's great. But commit to doing something. Otherwise, come January 15th, you're going to be kicking yourself because you've missed out on the easiest opportunity to be in touch with your people.
Yeah. And look, you know, and the do something, here's the not planned, not well thought out, not mapped out, not perfect, but you see poinsettias as a smoking deal at Home Depot, grab 3 and drop them off. Right?
I like it. Yes.
And so the sooner the better. Get a little bit of a map of where all your people are to give you a fighting chance. Sometimes you forget. It's like, wait, oh, I'm in that neighborhood. That would have been easy. So yeah, I would say something is absolutely better than nothing. Oh, but Charlie, you've said before, now is the season. Pick up the phone, whatever it is. Just say hello. Holiday touches of all kinds. And this is not the last you'll hear of it, because there's a lot of opportunity between here and the end of the year.
Do something. I think everyone listening and watching are going to hear us say those words quite a bit over the next couple months.
Just do it.
Always good to see you, Amy. Have a great rest of the day, and we will see you in a couple days. Back over to Eyerusalem.
Thank you so much for watching, and as always, we are here to make your real estate career better.
Take care, everybody. Thanks.